Also said the sequester would not have happened if he was sitting in the Oval Office. Well, now the sequester is officially in effect, and members of President Obama's cabinet are warning the impact is already being felt. Here's what Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano said just this morning.
We are already seeing the effects at some of the ports of entry, the big airports, for example. Some of them had very long lines this weekend.
So what's next? The date is to watch March 27th. Mark your calendar when a partial government shutdown could begin. I stretch the word could. But this week on Capitol Hill, a sign that a shutdown could be averted. A continuing resolution is set to be introduced and taken up that would fund the government through the end of the fiscal year. Joining me now is Shira Toeplitz, acting politics editor for Roll Call, and Democratic strategist Richard Goodstein. Thank you both for joining us. Shira, let's start off with, here we are with the calendar date, March 27th. Both the president and Speaker Boehner have indicated they do not have the desire for a government shutdown. They don't have the stomach for it, and quite honestly, we know by now by talking to all of our relatives, they don't have the stomach for this either. But here we are, the sequester, and Republicans are saying the sky is not falling, and it perhaps will not fall as the president presented.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think Republicans are going to take the next couple of weeks to try and turn the political momentum in their favor, especially over the upcoming, you could call it a budget battle, but it's really a skirmish over continuing resolution that'll probably pass because, as you pointed out, there is zero appetite for another fiscal crisis that goes down to the last minute on Capitol Hill. They just know that voters in particular are very tired. They're crisis weary. They just want to brush this under the rug, get it done. They'll deal with it in 6 months.
But Richard, let me play what Jay Carney just said a short time ago regarding the president's continued conversations with Republicans and Democrats. Let me play it.
The president had conversations with Republicans and Democrats over the weekend. He spoke here the other day about believing that there is a caucus of common sense out there.
Love that phrase, caucus of common sense. If that does exist, does it even exist in Washington?
Woo. Well,
no.
we certainly haven't seen it manifest itself too much lately. And the fact is, we know that consumer confidence, all these different indicators are suffering from this kind of uncertainty around policies. Look, I do think that there are different reasons that we will avoid a government shutdown. The Republicans still remember what happened when Newt Gingrich led it to a shutdown when Bill Clinton was president. That didn't work very well for the Republicans. And I think for the president, he's so focused on other issues, including addressing gun violence, including immigration, and the whole agenda that he's got, that if he gets into this back and forth of the government shutdown,
right,
and open for he wants to avoid that, and let's get on to real stuff. We can kind of get by as is. He's not happy about it, but he'll manage.
Yeah, and sure, it's interesting, again, back to what were we expecting after Friday and the days ahead. You've got an article in the New York Times that discusses the budget cuts going into effect, and the poor may be hit particularly hard, and it talks about 125,000 individuals and families put at risk of becoming homeless, for example. The Department of Housing and Urban Development estimates that an additional 100,000 formerly homeless people may be removed from emergency shelters. And we know the conversation regarding parents who need daycare help and assistance for the low-income families with children who need vouchers and other things for housing. You know, it's interesting this morning I watched so many people kind of shrug off, oh, nothing happened. But what we know, just a little bit, for example, with the TSA, the lines or whatnot, you don't necessarily have to fly, but you have to eat, and you need a warm, safe place. And I think it's interesting you have people who are saying, oh, what's the big deal, when the numbers are there that will be people in our country affected by this sequester.
Right, and although the sky didn't fall, they're right about that. The truth is the effects of the sequester will happen slowly. They'll happen week by week over the next few weeks or the next few months. They are not going to happen overnight. This was not like the payroll tax increase and the next day everyone saw less money in their paycheck. It's just going to take a while to see these effects. And, for all the attention that they've given these defense industry cuts, especially here in Washington, D.C. in the Northern Virginia area. I mean, there has not been a lot of attention paid to these domestic cuts in particular that will hit the programs you just described.
And David, why do you believe that is? I mean, again, this article that outlines how these, billions of dollars in mandatory budget reductions in the programs that help low-income people, how is it that some folks easily dismiss the impact that this is having very soon for people who need the most in our country?
I mean, Tamron, you ask an excellent question, and then you juxtapose that against Mitt Romney's 47%. There's your answer. I mean, that's the answer to your question. How can people easily dismiss it? Because a lot of people act like the very people that are be the beneficiaries of those programs you just ticked off don't exist. It's sad. And the fact is, I think, as Shira says, over time, nobody thought this was going to happen overnight. Right. But over time, either people will see the effects of these programs. They will see even the pink slips. If they don't get one, they may fear they're going to get one. Right. They may fear their customers are going to get one. This will happen. Every economist across the political spectrum insists it will, and I think it's just a matter of time before everybody across, rich and poor, Democrat, Republican, sees that this is not a joking matter.
All right, David, thank you. Shira, it's a great pleasure having you on as well. Thank you both.
Thank you.